Today's presentation is on SAGE Research Methods Online and Tests and Measurements. And today's presenter is Laura Ramirez, who is the North Miami Beach librarian and liaison to Fischler School. So I'm going to turn it over to Laura. In case anyone just joined us online. We're recording it for later. Yes, that's true. So for those of you watching the recording later, thank you for being here. Okay, so for today's presentation, which will be on methodologies and instruments, I'll go into the Alvin Sherman Library, although these databases are available from all different libraries. And another thing before I begin is I do want to thank you for being here. We have competition today. We have the Academic Fest going on next door too at the DeSantis building. I'm timing this so that we'll be done about 12:45 or so you'll still have a chance to go over to that. But I do appreciate you being here today. So starting from the NOVA page, I'm not aware if you have seen that they've put us under community to get to the libraries. We have asked to be moved over to research, and we've been told that at some point they will. Probably by the time everybody gets used to going under community, they'll move it over to research. But under libraries, under Learn More, you will see the different libraries listed. And again, these databases are available through all the different libraries, but I will be demonstrating it through Alvin Sherman. So however you go into your library and get to the list of databases, for us at Alvin Sherman, it's going through articles and then databases by subject. You will see these databases either under a specific category, like for us, we have them under a little farther down, tests and instruments, tests and measurements. But every library has a list somewhere where you can enter the entire list or see the alphabetical list. For example, for us, we have the alphabetical list up here, or see all databases. So that's another way of getting to them once you know the name of these different databases. So the ones that I will be covering today, again, I'm going under Test and Measurement, will be the first four listed here. The Health and Psychosocial Instruments, Mental Measurements Yearbook, Psych Test, and SAGE Research Methods Online. I'm going to start off with SAGE. And again, I'm thinking here in the capacity that you may be working with students who are conducting research, who are working on a dissertation. Maybe you're a dissertation chair, or maybe you're just doing your own research and have some methodology questions. So this is what the SAGE Research Methods database will do. Help you out with methodologies. Once I click on it, I will sign in. Oh, I guess we were signed in. I guess you signed into something here earlier. You did. Okay, so we're signed in. There's different ways of using this database. SAGE is the publisher of a lot of different research journals, encyclopedias, books, and they are known for their little green books and little blue books, which are specific methodologies in qualitative and quantitative research. So that's one of the ways you can look at this, is you can go in by browsing through the content. So if I mouse over content here, you'll see that we have links to books, dictionaries, encyclopedias. And again, because so many researchers are familiar with those little green books and the little blue books, I'll just do a quick overview of those. So again, the little green books are more for quantitative research. And you will see here they are in full text. You can just scroll down and access the full book. And if we go into the blue books, those are the ones that are more with a qualitative focus. So again, you have the content of the full book here. Also under content, you have videos. And here what they've done is a lot of times they've interviewed experts in research methods. Maybe you're familiar with the researcher John Cresswell. He is actually the author of the Methods of Research, the textbook used in the Methods of Inquiry class in the doctoral program. And I found a couple of videos here by him. For example, when should I choose the mixed methods research approach? Oh, something interesting. Okay. Content. If you go here under the different ones, content, I went to videos. And I'm looking at the videos category, and then I just scrolled down and I found this one by Cresswell. Yes. Of course, there's many different ways. You could have put them in the list here. You can search by authors and editors. I could have put in mixed methods. So yes, definitely. I'm going to show you different ways of accessing the information. So one way was just browsing so that you get really a big picture of what's in here, because there is a lot of content in this particular database. Another way of going in is through the methods map. For example, and again, I work a lot with doctoral students at the Fisher School of Education, and some of them hear quantitative and they think, well, I'm not doing stats. I'll definitely go the qualitative route without really understanding what qualitative research entails. So one of the things you can do here is if you go through research methods, what I did here was I clicked on the methods map. So this takes me to the big picture research methods, and then from there you see the breakdown. So I want to see, I've definitely decided I'm not doing quantitative. I will do qualitative. If you click on qualitative, I can look at the 753 items listed under this. I can mouse over the term qualitative research. Well, it's not doing it on this one. On the others, maybe it's once we get into a smaller category. It'll give you a brief definition. Like I said, I can look into the content here. That's kind of the big picture. I want to go into specifically data collection methods. I know that I want to do qualitative, so let me click on qualitative data collection. And then I can start seeing the breakdown here. Oh, maybe I want to do a case study, or maybe I'm interested in focus groups. And so this starts giving you a better idea of some specific qualitative data collection methods. So I'm going to go to focus groups. Maybe that's something I'm interested, calls my attention. That might be something I want to do. So now that I'm in focus groups, see, that's what I was talking about. I guess earlier with qualitative it was too broad a category. But if you mouse over this heading, it'll give you a little bubble with a brief description. Again, I can go right into show content and look at the different items, or I can go into something more specific. And of course, one of the things that's very important in focus groups is your moderator. And so this may be something they want to consider and find out more about. So you can keep clicking on these and going into a more specific breakdown, or as I said, we can go straight into the content. So just to give you an example of what's here. So I know I want to do focus groups. I can go find books. And again, the entire content is here, full text. Advanced focus group research, developing focus group research. So first it gives you the books, and then it starts breaking it down into chapters. So once we get far enough down, you'll start seeing specific chapters, and so it'll tell you what chapter it is, from which book, and of course the entire book is listed earlier up on the list. And if you don't want to look at an entire book, remember you can look at the little green books, the little blue books. In this case, it's qualitative, so it'll be the blue books. And then you have here a brief in-depth overview of those blue books. And again, here you see first the blue book, and then you start seeing the specific chapters within that, plus chapters from other areas. I mentioned earlier was, can I just type in something? So Leah asked, well, what if I just want to look up something? Yes, I could definitely try. Let's say I'm looking at single-person case studies. So once I start typing in a word, notice it'll start giving me some suggestions. So okay, single case, that sounds good. I'll click on that. And then that will take me straight into all the content, and I can narrow it down: books, book titles, chapters, little green books, little blue books, dictionaries, encyclopedias, and so on. But if I want to do a single person case study, then I've got here information on methodologies that I can use. So again, you can browse the content this way, you can search for something specific, You can look by author and editor. The methods map is a good visual way of going in and looking at the big picture. I mean, there's even sections on writing up. So under writing up, for example, I see dissertation here, and that's certainly something that would benefit our students. Questions? I don't believe it has that, but let's test it out. Let's put in a search for SPSS. Oh yes, the question was, does it help you with using statistical software? And so I'm going to test it out. I know of a package called SPSS, so we'll put it in here and see what comes up. So there are some entries on SPSS from the Dictionary of Statistics and Methodology, Encyclopedia of Research Design, and here we go, an intermediate guide to SPSS programming. So there are entire books that you can use to help you tackle SPSS. This is all full text content online. If I click on it, I should be able to see the entire book here. So let me see this part. And here it is. So you're seeing the entire text. I think this database is one of our biggest secrets. It's there. We've had it for a year now, Leah, a year and a half, almost 2 years, and it has so much content, but if you're not aware that it's there, so hopefully you'll spread the word now that you know that it's here. I don't believe this has a download feature. That's actually a great question. I may have to get back to you on that and see, but it is opening up full text, so you could at least browse it by just going straight to it that way, if not, if it's not downloadable. Oh, here we go, download. It looks like it's a specific chapter, and if I click on download, it may just download the PDF file. We'll see. Yes, do you want to save it as a PDF? That's exactly what it'll do. So in that sense, you could download it and have that chapter, that PDF file. And of course, for our students who are always interested in citing things properly, it does also give some assistance with citation. So you can see it in APA, MLA in different styles, and then you can just copy the citation from here, paste it, and as I always tell them, do not just go with what the database gives you. You still need to double check and make sure that it's properly formatted. But at least 90% of the citation is ready for you. You just need to check and see if capitalization is correct and all the other details that go along with doing a proper APA citation. So we do show students how to use these citation tools, but we warn them that they have to then spot check the information. Any other questions on SAGE research methods? Again, a great resource for anyone working with research design. Okay, so we've settled on our methodology, and now we would like help with getting an instrument. So again, I'm going into the databases, same category, the test and measurements instruments. And by the way, the name of that database was SAGE Research Methods Online. So if you come in through a different library, just make sure you go to the S's and look for SAGE Research Methods. That's the name of the database I just covered. Tests and measurements. Okay, the other probably well-known product here that you may have heard of is the Mental Measurements Yearbook. This has some pros and cons. Our students a lot of times are told to come here to look for an instrument. The Mental Measurements Yearbook, though, has commercially available instruments, which means purchasing. Money is involved. But even for students who have already decided they're not going to pay for an instrument, even then, I still recommend they come here and read a couple of reviews, because that's the strength of the Mental Measurements Yearbook, the in-depth reviews. And so let's say that I'm interested in the topic of professional burnout. So I'm going to do a search, and sometimes the problem is that our students get too specific. Well, I'm doing burnout with nurses. Okay, we could try burnout in nurses, but if we don't get anything, let's scale it back and just look for burnout. So I'm going to do burnout. And we do get 5 different items here. So this first one calls my attention, the mass lack burnout inventory. If I click on the item, I can see the preview. There's a little preview here. I can click on the item. I can go straight to the full text. I'm going to click on the title of the item because that'll first give me the record that describes what this item is, and then it includes the full text near the bottom. So here's some information on this particular inventory. Now this is going to be really key. If the student is interested in obtaining a copy of this particular instrument, they will, as I said, have to buy it, and publisher information is included here. So now we know who to contact to find out more about buying this particular item. Correct. This is a database that more than anything has reviews. So that's the great strength of this one, that the reviews are there. So it is commercially available. It even gives you the website. Sometimes these websites are a little outdated. I've at least run into one where that was the case, but at least it gives us the name, and they're over in Mountain View, and I was able to search it and then find the slightly different name. This one worked, but there was another one that I worked with once where the website didn't work, but I went ahead and just did a Google search on it and found it. Now it does give us some price information here, but sometimes this is back from, a few years back. This is 2001 pricing, so I definitely will go to the website to find out more. And then we find out there are 2 full-length reviews of this particular instrument. So if I keep scrolling down, you will see the reviews here. Now they're one right after the other. So here's the first one, and then right in the middle, it's not clearly marked, but here's the second one. And of course, these reviews are, as I said, for a student, even if they're not going to use a commercial instrument, they really should read a few of these to see what kind of things they need to be looking out for when they choose their instrument. What population are they using it with? For example, somebody gave this, somebody else who was doing a test and measurements presentation, another one of our librarians gave a great example. They said, if you're going to do a study on test anxiety, and the instrument takes an hour and a half for them to go through it, that's not good. These are already people that have test anxiety. So you want to make sure that, you read these reviews and see what are some of the pros and cons. And of course, very important is validity and reliability information. And these do cover validity and reliability information, which is of course needed by the students to talk about in their dissertation when they choose an instrument. Now, one of the other quick little feature here, and this is in some of our databases. I don't know if you're aware that some of our databases contain audio of the content in here. The EBSCO databases tend to have audio, and the Gale databases tend to have audio. This, which is an EBSCO one, the funny thing is it'll even let you pick the accent. I want to hear it read to me in an Australian accent, in a British accent. So, you can have fun with it. Why make it boring? Put it in a British accent, and then you can hear the content here being read to you. And some of them do allow downloading too, so I can even download the MP3, transfer it over to my device, and listen to this on my next flight out. Okay, questions about Mental Measurements Yearbook. Again, usually do not, I should say probably never, contain the actual instrument, but it's a great resource for reading reviews and getting a handle on what kinds of things a student would need to look out for.
So will these appear in other databases or just?
That's where I'm taking it now. So I've decided that I do like this instrument. Well, let me start with this. How much will this instrument cost? Maybe I can open another window here, go to the website, and I do a lot of copy and pasting because I'm not always the most careful typist. So I'll type that in there. And here it is, straight from the website. Requirements for purchase, time, available, here we go. $39.50 for a package of 25. Well, actually that's pretty reasonable. I think I could invest $40 in my research. So if that's going to work for you, then you say, okay, I'm definitely sticking with this instrument. This is the one I'm going to use. Now what I want to show is who else has used this instrument in other studies. Is it going to work with my population? So here's where I'm going to move over to the database called Health and Psychosocial Instruments. Go back here. So again, we're back to our test and measurements databases. And this is the one, the acronym is HAPPY, Health and Psychosocial Instruments. So this will lead you to a lot of journal articles about instruments. Sometimes it's focusing on articles that use a specific instrument. Sometimes there are articles that talk about the development of the instrument. So there are articles written by the creator of the test. So let's see what happens here. It should have that too, yes. Where has it actually been used in other research? The question was, I'm sorry, I answered. Yes, the question is, it includes not only information on validity and reliability, articles with that information, but also articles that actually used it. So now I'm going to click on the database. This makes you choose the name twice here, so we have to go back into it, Health and Psychosocial Instruments. I chose it from our database list, and then one more time. And again, because I copied and pasted it, I can just put the name in here. Now, if I just search for the inventory as a whole, I get 168 different articles. So that's a lot to go through. But you will see down here several limiters that you can use. So for example, in my case, I'm trying to find articles that used this instrument. So I can go to a secondary source. Secondary source means I'm going to find articles that mention this instrument that use it. So I'll do my search, limiting to secondary source. It could be, yeah, well, we can test that out too and look at it. And actually, I'm going to give you one more hint here. If you were here for tips and tricks the first day I mentioned, what happens is that sometimes if you don't put things in quotation marks, it'll find the three words you wanted, but not necessarily in that order next to each other. And when I tested this earlier, I had 10 results, so I'm thinking that last time I did it with quotation marks. Let me try that with quotation marks, secondary source. I'm still getting 109. Okay. When I tried this earlier, I was down to 10. But still, that tells me there's 109 items that have used this particular test. And so in each of these articles, it's mentioned. Okay, so this article is about strategic item selection to reduce survey length, psychiatric training in New Zealand, emotional exhaustion and defense mechanisms in intensive therapy, unit nurses. So these are the articles that use this inventory in that research study. Because there are so many, I probably do want to narrow it down now to my specific population. As I said, if it was, for example, nurses. And remember what the asterisk does. This will pick up nurse, nurses, nursing, anything that begins with those letters. Secondary source. There, now I'm down to 35, and all of these, the instrument is mentioned, and it has to do with nurses, nursing, etc. So now I can look at a couple of these and mention them in my research that this is an instrument that has been used with nurses with nursing burnout. Now, some of these will be full text. As you can see here, the PDF on some of these, and for some of these, you will have to go look for the full text using Find It. And again, in our presentation on Monday, I went over that, but if you do need some assistance with that, we will gladly help you. You can always call your library and ask for assistance with Find It. If you quickly remember, Find It will either link you to this full text of this article in another database, or it'll give you an option to order it. And we'll get it for you. Any other questions about, well, let me try the primary since you asked about that. primary source. This may be articles, there's only 2 of those. Reliability and validity of the work-related strain inventory among health professionals. Factors affecting survival and satisfaction, navigating a career in oncology social work. Yes, question? Well, these are considered primary, the others are considered secondary. I just remember reading in the instructions that secondary was a great way to see who has used the actual inventory. I'm guessing it's mentioned in here, but or it could address the construction of it along with the construction of these others that are the focus of this.
My question was about the asterisk. If you have to abbreviate nurse, or if you type in nurse asterisk, you have to do the first part of the word.
Okay, it's usually up to the last letter that they will have in common. So nurse, E, nursing, nurses, so the S is the last letter that would be common among all of those. That's how I decided to put it there. If I had done nurse like this, it'll pick up nurse singular, nurses plural, but not nursing because of the I. Okay? The question again was about on the use of the asterisk, why I placed it after the R and could it have been placed somewhere else, and it'll change the results if you do place it somewhere else. You want to put it on the last letter that all of the variations of the word will have in common. Any other questions about this one? This is Health and Psychosocial Instruments, HAPI. And again, a great place to go to find articles that have actually used the instrument that you have in mind. I mean, we could have started here with burnout too and found just articles too on that, but then you'd have to go through them to figure out which instrument you wanted to use, but it's another way. Burnout and nurses. 152 articles. So that would have been another way to start off. Had I not gone to Mental Measurements Yearbook first, I could have just typed that in here and then looked through this to try and find that. And if you'll notice, the title of each entry is the actual test or scale. Inventory, scale. So that's what that is. And then here is the title of the article in which that test or scale appears. So there are some others mentioned here. I do see that MASLAC one, but here's nursing, burnout scale, emotional competence scale, etc. Okay, the final database that I'm going to show is probably the one our students will like the most because this one is guaranteed to have the instrument in it. So this is the one called Psych Tests, number 3. Research database that provides access to psychological tests, measures, scales, surveys, and other assessments. So even $40 is too much of an investment for me. I want something that I can get full text. Now, even those items that are available full text, sometimes you still have to write to the author, to the publisher, to obtain permission to use it in the dissertation. Even that obstacle can be overcome in this database. So I'm going to put here burnout. And look at the limiters that we have on this one. Permission. Contact the author, contact the publisher, contact publisher and author. Remove those. May use for research or teaching, no extra permission required. So once I click that, everything I get, I can use because the publisher authors already gave the permission and it's already here. There's some other limiters that may be of interest to you down here. You specifically want something with males. That's one of your limiters down here. What about age groups? Well, for burnout, probably infancy is not going to be your population. But, but for others, you can see where maybe you want to limit it to a specific age group. Another thing we may want to look at is only those that have full text. The majority in here are full text, but it is a limiter you can add. And now we will have 37 instruments readily available, full text, right here, no extra permission required, on burnout and specifically males. So what's in here? The first thing you want to look at is the citation and abstract, because if you click on that, it will give you some background information. So here's an abstract of what the scale does, purpose, what it's testing, so the construct, psychological resilience, what the format is. If you look at this, now this is usually, what's the word I'm looking for here? It's closed up. You don't see it. You have to actually click on it to see it, but there is a section here on test development that if I just click here, it'll expand. And this will lead me back to an article that will give me information about the development of the test. So the validity and reliability information will be there. Why they have that kind of hidden, I'm not sure, because it always shows up like this closed. Maybe, Leah, that's something that we can modify in our settings. We can check for that. But yes, this is something that's definitely important because the validity and reliability information is here. And again, it shows you the description of, the age groups. It can also be used for females, but at least we know that it does apply to males. And now the actual instruments. So if we go to full text PDF, we don't have PDF support in here. Let me open it up, try and open in PDF Reader. I know we've opened up the other PDFs here, so let's see what will happen. No, it's down here. There we go. Okay, so a cover page gives you some background information, and then the actual instrument is right here. Sometimes they're very short. They're quick, short questionnaires. This is it. This one page is the questionnaire.
How do you know how to score?
Yeah, it should tell you here. And also you can look at the longer record. Remember when I showed you the citation? All the information is contained within here, so it should be. If it's not on this document, which it usually is, then it should be over when we saw the citation and abstract. We can go test another one just to see. Let me click on the next one here. And let's open up the full text. Now I know that I have to open it up here in the full PDF Reader. Yeah, tells you right there. So some of these are very basic, very simple types of instruments, but they're instruments that have been, through validity, reliability, and have been put into the data. I mean, they're known instruments. It's not where the student has to create their own from scratch and worry about validity and reliability. It's a published instrument. Well, I promised I was going to keep it brief, and I'm done in 36 minutes and covered 4 excellent resources that we offer here at the library. I'm open to questions now. Any other questions?
I never realized, I call it hate pie, call it happy, but I never realized it was just the articles. That's where I used to search for the instruments.
Well, a lot of times, though, the instruments are contained within the articles. There's a chance, but it's sort of a 50-50 chance that you're going to find an article that actually contains the instrument within. Here we know for a fact that it will. And you usually call it happy? Hey pie, okay, I don't know. Happy sounds joyful to me. Okay, any other comments or questions? Yes. Yes, let me show you where you will go. And it's funny that we mentioned happy being joyful, because the way you're going to remember where this is all of our campus guides. If you're, let me start off from the library page. You're from HPD, right? Let me go in through your library just to make your life a little easier. So we go into HPD Library, and let's see where they have their library guides. Database tutorials. It's funny when you look at someone else's library, when you're so used to your own, to try and figure out, I believe it might be under tutorials. Let me see where they have their library guides, because I know they use library guides extensively. There we go. Okay. So we're now in the library guides, and we're trying to get to the Library Academic Fest. You could also try LAF. So when I was saying happy, laugh, because the address for the Library Academic Fest is LAF. No, that didn't work. Okay. That's the address. I know it's the address. So let me show you another way you can do it. Now that we're in Campus Guides, I should have just given you the address. nova.campusguides.com, LAF, Library Academic Fest. But you can just call it LAF. nova.campusguides.com/LAF, Library Academic Fest, LAF, and then you'll see a tab there for each of the different days. So research tips and tricks is right here, and the recording is available. So this is the Illuminate recording right here. I do some searching. This was actually presented in 2 parts. It only has my picture there, but Courtney Milnar from HPD was the first presenter, and so she goes through the HPD library and discusses some of the resources there. And then when I went in, I actually did some of the quotation marks and asterisks and all that. So that's one thing. But one of the things I stress is we will always be glad to do a session for you. You can sign up for a one-on-one session with a librarian at HPD, or even one of us will be glad to help you. And we can also offer sessions for your classes. So if you'd like for a librarian to come into one of your classes and do a presentation for your students, we will help them do better searches and get better results. Okay?
There's a question online.
Online, yes.
My question is, because she came in a little late,
Mm-hmm.
can you just show her how to find the databases from the library's homepage?
Can you ask her, please, what library? I'm sorry. HPD. Okay. So if we go to HPD, since we're already there, let's look at it through HPD. So tests and measurements. Okay, here it says all NSU databases. So that would be my best bet for how to get to that. All NSU databases, and then this is the page I was demonstrating earlier. So yes, from the HPD library, if you click on this, all NSU databases, you will see, well, I just closed it. You will see exactly where I was presenting from, and it was all down here under the tests and measurements category, and these are the 4 that I discussed. Health and psychosocial instruments, mental measurements yearbook, psych tests, and SAGE research methods. Yes?
All my, I teach the nursing, I teach the master's and PhD levels, and all of our students are online. Do you have an Illuminate session or something like if you would do a presentation to students in class? Do you have something online that I can?
We could even come into your class.
I don't teach, they're all online.
But do you have a course online?
Yes.
You can add the librarian to your course, and they can come in and do a presentation in Illuminate for just your class. So do you know who your liaison is at? Okay, just ask him if he could be added to your class and if he could do a presentation, and he will teach all of this.
Would that be live or would that be a recorded session?
However you prefer. It could be live, it could be recorded. Now, the presentation I did today is also going to be recorded and online on here, so that's another source. If the timing doesn't work right, you can just have your students watch the presentation. Even though I was addressing it to faculty, it really is for students, so definitely they can come in and watch the recording. Mm-hmm. Any other questions? Well, again, thank you very much for coming. I hope you will use these wonderful resources that we offer. And again, if you need any further assistance, either yourselves or you'd like a presentation for class, please contact your librarians and we'll be glad to help you use these resources. It's great that we purchase all this, but if the students aren't aware it's there, not using it, so we will gladly teach your students how to use it. Thank you. Great.